Trauma bonds. Trauma bonding. Understanding and breaking free introduction. Trauma bonds are emotional attachments that form between two people in an abusive relationship. The abuser often intentionally creates traumatic events to establish control and dependency in the victim. The resulting trauma bond makes it very difficult for the victim to leave the abusive relationship. Today we'll explore how trauma bonds form, their unhealthy effects, and most importantly, how to begin breaking free. Recovery is absolutely possible with understanding, support, and taking the first steps. How trauma bonds form. Trauma bonds form out of the cycle of abuse in controlling relationships. First, the abuser creates a traumatic event through emotional, physical, or sexual abuse. This establishes control through fear and confusion. Next, the abuser showers the victim with positive attention or apologies, offering hope. This cements trauma bonding and dependency in the victim. The cycle then repeats over and over, alternating abuse with false promises. Each time the cycle repeats, the trauma bond strengthens, making the victim more emotionally reliant on the abuser. This trauma bond activates the same parts of the brain as addiction, releasing dopamine when given positive attention. Just like addiction, over time more abuse is needed to get the same emotional effect. Unhealthy effects of trauma bonds. Trauma bonds have severely unhealthy effects on the victim's mental health and ability to leave. First, victims become emotionally bonded and dependent on their abuser through the abuse cycle. They may have low self-esteem, believing they need the abuser. Second, victims tend to isolate from friends or family who could help them leave. The abuser often directly pressures them to cut off support. Third, victims have high anxiety when considering leaving, fearful of retribution. Trauma bonding makes leaving feel like psychological withdrawal. Finally, victims often rationalize or defend abuse, blaming themselves, a result of the mental conditioning. Under trauma bonding, rational judgment becomes impaired. These effects make trauma bonding incredibly difficult to overcome, but recovery absolutely is possible. Steps to break trauma bonds. Breaking trauma bonds requires rebuilding outside emotional support and distance from the abuser. This reduces their control and creates space for clarity. First, seek out trusted friends and family or a support group. Open up to them about the abuse and unsafe nature of the relationship. Their validation and concern can start lifting the fog. Second, consider consulting a trauma specialist. Counseling is tremendously helpful for processing trauma bonds safely. A professional can provide guidance tailored to your situation. Third, reduce contact with the abuser. Any interactions prolong trauma bonding. Try to eliminate contact completely if possible. Limiting contact reduces conditioning. Fourth, challenge feelings of guilt, defensiveness, or obligation to the abuser. These are artifacts of trauma bonding, not reality. You have nothing to feel guilty for. Fifth, rediscover joy in your autonomy. Start pursuing activities you enjoy. Join new social circles. Your life is yours. Trauma bonds claim otherwise. Finally, be patient and get support. Overcoming trauma bonds takes time, but you can regain your self-worth, autonomy, and be free. With compassion and help, healing is absolutely achievable. Conclusion. Trauma bonding is a serious result of abuse that makes leaving unsafe relationships extremely hard. Recovery is a challenging journey, but very possible by rebuilding outside support, limiting contact with the abuser, and rediscovering your autonomy. With time, compassion, and help, trauma bonds can be broken, and you can reclaim your freedom and future. You deserve to feel safe, respected, and cherished. If any part of this resonates with you, please know recovery is absolutely achievable, and you don't have to walk this path alone.